strengths out of it. So it can be hard at times, and I just really want to take a minute and acknowledge you guys all for being here, and remind you to acknowledge yourselves, because that's really, really important. So if nobody's done that today, take 5 minutes. So what we're going to be talking about today is what we like to call conscious creation. It means basically that you, when you have the understanding of the laws of geometry through the universe and what those mean, you can actually create with intent. And you can create positive, beneficial energy properties, whether they be tools or devices or whatever. So it's a little bit of what we're going to get into, and might be a refresher of some information you guys already know, and maybe some stuff you guys haven't heard yet today. So the other thing that we stand for as Sovereign Alliance is we are the next generation, but we also bridge a gap of generations. Okay, so this is my business partner, actually also my dad. Okay, so avoid any confusion with that one. And he'll be speaking a little. It happens. It really does. Ever since I was 16. Anyway, he'll be speaking. I don't know if that benefits me or benefits her. There's age gaps all over. There's no judgment, but just to, we'll clarify anyway. But his knowledge and his background, and combined with my generation and my intuitions and his intuitions, we really make a kind of great team group with what we're about. He has a lot of design engineering background, and a lot of these things wouldn't be possible without that knowledge. So I'm not going to figure that one out. So leave some intuition stuff up to me, and then we design it together. So we're about bridging that gap and creating that balance between the veteran generations, the ones who have been around forever, and the knowledge, the acknowledgement that we get to that. And also, not just for my generation, but also my children and their children. And it's important to, I believe that it's important that we all kind of get on this level of consciousness is consciousness, and awareness is actual. Consciousness is cool. In a nutshell, but it hasn't been for a long time, or people think it's weird, or if you're that person who's like, yeah, everything's energy, or, I see spirits, or whatever, and the people are looking at you funny because of their own fear-based mentality, and especially now for our younger generation, 16, 17-year-olds, who have got all this information, and they have no idea what to do with it, and a lot of times they don't have a lot of support with it. A lot of times, they're not the parents like you guys who are like, hey, this is what you're feeling, this is what you're dealing with. And they go to school, and it's not cool to talk about it. And they get made fun of. So the goal and mission of the whole movement of what we're about is actually making these things okay to talk about in a grander scheme, not just in, these incredible environments, right? But in your everyday. So you can go to a restaurant, and you can, put some good energy into your food, and you don't have the rest of the restaurant looking over at you like, what are you doing? Or you break out your pendulum, and it's like, what is that thing? So it's about global domination. No, I'm just kidding. global awareness, right? But in every generation. So, needless to say, I'm going to. I have a bug.
There you go.
What's going now? You just wanted to hang out.
You're just getting some energy, that's all.
Okay, so with that, we are a movement to create this foundation, to create this awareness of frequency, motion, harmonics, what that is, what you can create with that. And we're not the only ones doing it. But we are creating a space where people can come and ask questions and, be a part of it. We want to spark the human race and ignite that transformational energy. I know it's all happening, but it's also just happening in groups like this, and we need to make it okay across the board. It is also with the understanding to ground this information in, right? It's not just about talking about the metaphysical world and understanding that. It's about really like grounding it into our bodies. We're not supposed to go astral projecting and, you know, a spaceship's going to come down and save us and we all get to go home. Yay! That's not what's happening. For those of you who want true transformation on this planet, right, we have to do it. And if it doesn't start with us, then who is it going to start with? If we don't actually say, what are we doing, and we're honing it into our physical body, and we're actually creating something with it, if we're not going to do that, then who's going to do that? Who's going to tell our future generations, this is what needs to happen so that we can actually have the world that we say that we want, as in the whole be the change that you want to see in the world, but what are we actually being? And how do we actually do that? And that's through conscious creation, knowing the laws through geometry, it's science, it's all that stuff, and actually implementing it in and creating something. So I love everybody who's you know, doing that work and creating. And yes, finally making, you know, alternative medicine, radionics. Right now, Western medicine does not approve placebo effect. Okay, that's apparently not a viable source for medications to get pushed through. Don't get me wrong, I'm not big on medications. I completely disagree with medications. No disrespect to anybody who takes them. On a vibratory level, I think it keeps our consciousness stagnant. Okay, that's a different talk. I won't go into that. But, and remind me of where we're at with time. Okay. Everything that works on an energetic level, we need to actually be able to stand up and say, this does work. What I mean by that, radionics, dowsing, mental dowsing and energy dowsing, okay? Placebo effect. Placebo effects actually have a better turnout in when they're doing testing for medications, and if it has more placebo than it does the people actually taking the medication, FDA disregards it. Why is that? One, because they're dealing with medication, but two, it shows us how powerful our minds actually are. Our consciousness is. It doesn't start with our minds, but that's how powerful we actually are. So we need to be able to prove those things. Okay. So, what if balance, sacred geometry, and creativity, your passion, your creativity, what you want to create, what if all of those things were to come together? What can we do? Just say. Okay. So talking about balance first. It's important that our balance within our own, every individual body, has a balance of masculine and feminine energies. That's where we're going into. Brief history lesson. We've been primarily masculine dominant. Before that, we were very feminine dominant. There were a lot of the sisters who were actually, you know, that consciousness was listened to, was respected, was validated. Okay, and then that got flipped around to the masculine dominance. Okay, so we've been on one end of the pendulum, and now we've gone to the other end of the pendulum. We don't want to swing. I know there's a lot of, you know, yes, a lot of feminine empowerment. Okay, but we don't want to swing to that same other end of the pendulum again. We actually need to be back in the center, and this is the prime opportunity to do that because we've seen both sides. So it's about finding that balance in between, or excuse me, within your own self. Where it's not just if you're in partnership with someone and you have a man and a woman, it's the man having masculine and feminine balance energies. Okay, this doesn't mean that you're going to drink a bunch of soy milk and you're going to have more testosterone and all of a sudden everything's going to be cool, right? That's not what that means. And it doesn't mean that then the woman that you're with is all of a sudden going to get more fire and, you know, angry and all that stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, that may happen, but the point is to be balanced with both of those energies. And energy meaning your awareness so that you can have the feminine compassion along with, you know, the masculine like drive and passion and creativity, right? So both of those things are centered within everyone. When those two things come together in one person and you meet another person with those balanced energies, then what you have is co-creation. So now you're creating from a neutral place, and the sky's the limit after that. You're not feeding off of one person, right, of like, oh, I need this from you to complete me and make me feel whole, and oh, okay, well, I need this from you then. there's a need. A need stems from fear. That's not what we're actually discussing. It's that you are 100% whole, confident, complete, your divine self, your divine male and divine female with those balanced energies. So, I love this. I love.
I
I don't know
know.
if I can remember that. Parasumi. I love this woman. I wish I could meet this person, because this paragraph, I put it in here, I won't go through and read all of it, but this explains it actually the best that I found, right? This is balanced energies. This is what happens, what you can create when two people come together like that. And I don't just mean now, I want to clarify, this isn't just romantic relationships, okay? Those are all great. I know that's the first question every psychic, answers for everybody, right? When am I going to find the love of my life, right? But this happens, this has a lot to do with every partnership, okay? That means your mother and father relationships, okay? That means your sister and brother relationships. It's every partnership, your boss, okay? Don't go running and trying to explain this to your boss in order to make a better environment, okay? Let's hope that they get there on their own. But the point is that it has to do with every environment, and every environment has co-creation in it. So if we create this, then we're all, again, creating from a neutral place. So I'll let you guys look that up a little bit later. HARUSAMI.
I'd also interject,
Yeah.
just for a moment, I don't know if I've got the next slide or not, but, can you hear me now? Is that better?
I think they turned that one down.
No, we can hear you now.
I'll yell louder, how's that?
I'm coming in from the
Is
rain.
that better?
My chair.
Okay.
Here, I'll sneak over. You go over.
Just brief history lesson.
Thank you.
When Leonardo da Vinci did the Vitruvian Man, we all know
It
what
started
the Vitruvian
raining.
Man is, and I probably didn't pronounce it right. But when he did this, he did it, when he did his original Vitruvian Man, this way
That's
he
not the
showed it.
original image.
No, it's not the original one. But the original one that he did had both a man and a woman, with the woman standing in front of the man. And I can't remember the gentleman's name. It was a German who actually publicized that at the same time Da Vinci did his Vitruvian Man, and he was executed within 3 weeks for bringing that forward. So we're trying to find that in our research again.
Yeah.
We found it, but we didn't have enough time to get through the show. But if you want to go online, it is on there. I just can't remember where it was. But it is very fascinating to find that the female is standing in front of the male in that original depiction. It was Vitruvian Man, and I didn't pronounce that right, sorry. But if you look up Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, it'll come up. But it won't come up with the female in front of it. We found it elsewhere.
Yeah. Right, so that was the back side. So this was... Okay. So now getting into the fun stuff, okay? And this is going to be a little bit of a history, lesson or a recap for everybody. Can everybody see that with that there, though? Okay. Sekhmet. Okay, we're getting into Egyptology a little bit, but that's also where the principles of the SaRa Key came from. Okay, so now we get into, like I said, the fun stuff. She was the divine feminine. Okay, her empowerment was respected at that time through the entire nation. She's represented by the solar deity, or the sun, as well as the snake with wisdom, but also she holds the Waj. Okay? It's going to tie in. So, Sekhmet was partnered with, and these are netters too, by the way, and I want to be clear about that netters are archetypes. So they're depicted as animal shapes, right? So she has the lion head, but they were laws that had form. Okay, so in a lot of Egyptology, what we'll talk about is everything was a symbol. Everything got represented by a symbol, or like the ankh, like a pendant or something like that. So she had the Waj, right? And was divine feminine. Her partner, who, Ptah, his staff, his main image was the Waj. Oops, excuse me, the Jed. Wow. Well, they're holding the Ankh. Actually, if you can see, and this goes through, she's holding an Ankh, right? And I'll get into the Ankh as well, but they use multiple different tools and they use them in combination. So in just a quick second, I'll get to all of that. So she was divine feminine, she was represented with the Waj. Divine masculine, okay? Sovereign entities to themselves, fully whole and complete, right? But then coming together. And when they came together, they created Nefertum, right? And he was technically their son, for lack of a better term, or the image of the son, right? Not the son, like a father, son, and mother. So you have the Waj, which is power, and then you have the Jed, which is stability. And together, those actually create the Ankh, which is life. So when you, again, just referencing back, when you have sovereign energy combined with another sovereign energy, you create, but you consciously create. Those also have frequencies. So those frequencies are represented in, yes, the Ankh. And the Ankh was a life force symbol. It's all over Egypt. There's plenty of history that we won't go into right now as to what that tool was actually used for. One in which it was an emitter. It projected actual frequency, and that has to do with the shape of it, the lengths, all of that, and we'll get into all that. So, the Sa, these are getting into amulets and all the symbols that the Egyptians used, and these are actual tools. So the amulets, small objects that a person wears, carries, believes that it bestows a particular power or form of protection. Symbol, form, concepts providing protection, promotes well-being, brings good luck. All of these things, yes, they have that symbolism, but again, they have that symbolism because they're resonating at a specific frequency. So they do have a purpose. These amulets are created with a purpose. They weren't just like, oh, a cute little, let me just scribble this on right here. Everything was done with intention. And where they got that knowledge from is a totally different aspect. Okay, we're just talking about Egypt right now. So amulets, like I said, are more than just symbols. They're tools. And when they're created with the proper geometric laws of the universe, then they actually have a purpose. And so some things are created in this current dimension that look beautiful, but they are actually radiating detrimental frequencies. So what we mean by conscious creation is know that which you create. Know what those laws are and know what you may be creating something that looks absolutely beautiful, but what are those frequencies actually doing to your energy body and your physical body? So it's about doing, research and creating consciously. So again, you have the Jed and the Ankh. The Jed was stability, duration. The Ankh is life force. All of these amulets take their consciousness to a next level. So we're kind of here with our consciousness, but we're actually capable of going all the way up here. So in order to bridge that gap, what do we need to get across that bridge? What tools can we provide for ourselves? Can we make, or can we, research, or then, that's part of what we're actually creating to help get you guys and ourselves over to that other bridge. When we're on that other side, we're not going to need these tools. They'll be nice pieces to wear as decorations, but we're not actually going to need those tools. Why? Because our consciousness is going to be at that vibratory state, the highest potential of our energy body. The fact of the matter is that we're not there right now. It's not a judgment, it's not a bad thing, it's just we're not there right now. So what can we do, when you need to build something, you use tools to complete your project. So this is about creating those tools with the proper frequency to get you to the other side of the bridge, to get your consciousness always expanding, aware, and being conscious about it. And by wearing these amulets with the frequencies, you're bridging that gap because you're actually creating a cellular memory within your energy body. Okay, I'll get into that a little bit. So, all of this history of Egyptology and what they were actually creating is what we've currently designed. The reason why we call it Sa is Sa for infinite, Ra for light. Each one of these aspects, this is kind of a blueprint of showing you, the kind of lines and the indication lines show you where the lengths are and what frequencies those are actually resonating at. So we have combined a lot of different of our many years of research and compiled information from a lot of different people who have done a lot of their work. And so it's just about combining it together and creating something on our own. So we've included a lot of different things in this. Okay. What is it? Again, like I said, Sa, which is the protection symbol of the infinite. Okay? Ra, the power of the sun. That's what we named this device, so even that would have its own frequency. A key. It fits no lock, but it opens a lot of doors. Which that's to everyone's own experience. It's the conduit to universal consciousness. It's what we call frequential art, because it is an art piece. It's our, it's our own design. We've implemented a lot of these different things, but it's using frequency to do it. Frequency is the way of our future of health. Light, sound, all of those things are actually what our energy bodies and our physical bodies then respond to. That's where we're going. So, we call it frequential art. It embodies the physical and geometric configurations. Configurations of the system from which etheric energy is drawn. Meaning, when you have something like this, or you're creating something like this, you're creating positive, good, beneficial energy. That's etheric energy. It is who we are. We are light beings. We're just stuck in this, physical body for the time being. But we are actually ascending in physical form. That's our goal right now. Oh man. Okay, I need to wrap it up real quick. Okay. This is the key. I'm wearing one right here. Okay, so you can see all of the different angles. I'm going to jump back actually real quick. So kind of take a mental image of the silver one, the picture in the center, and then I'm going to jump back to that. And that's what it looks like. And all the angles and the geometric structures of it. I should actually, well, that's, we do in a couple of, okay. I want to move as quickly as possible. So, one, yes, we're going through what each one is. The dynamic pyramid angle, 51 degrees, 51 minutes. I know you guys all know that one. Okay, for those of you that don't, it's a preservation frequency. So we are actually sending out a frequency that your energy body picks up of preservation. Why? Because we're supposed to live longer. We're actually supposed to be rejuvenating our body cells on their own. There is a correction that actually, and you guys can all find this through your own research, there's a correction on the pyramids. The base of the pyramid is not just square. If you see here, if this was, one or two sides, or the first side and the second side, in the center of every side is a correction. It's like a little nick mark. So the square image is not a straight line. It actually kind of goes in a little bit, right? That's to create another frequency to balance the whole 51-degree preservation frequency, okay? So all of this is online to do your own research, so don't believe what we say, but look it up for yourselves as well. But they knew what they were talking about. So everything that they created was with intent, every angle, because angles create frequency. Okay, the on-healing chamber that's in the SaRa Key. Life force healing energy, right? It's the divine power of life that supports the universe. Yeah, go for it. Okay.
As you speak, I'm going to be the little dotted line.
The little dotted line.
This is the right here.
Yes. Okay, so actually I'll show you real quick. The pyramid angle. Okay. These first three pillars creates this 51-degree angle, like this, how my pen is created like that, right? Then what we've done is, in order to correct the sides, we've put little nick marks in between, because technically that would be the base of the pyramid. So that then creates the correction from the pyramid angle. Does everybody follow that one? It's cool stuff, I like it. Okay, I just want to move quickly. So, geometry provides the wearer with protection from degenerative forces and decay, right, while bestowing a natural domain of wellness. Why does it do that? Because you're sending a frequency out to your energy body that supports and is in harmony with preservation. So naturally, you're getting bombarded with good energy, positive energy. Anything of a lower vibratory state, right, can't sustain itself within that, including all of those, dark, scary forces, everything that's on a lower vibrational plane. Okay, it can't sustain itself around that. So again, like I said, these are tools to support us while we're going through the fourth dimension, which has plenty of entities that like to stick onto us. So it's all for support of your energy body. The Waj and the Zhen, the combination of the symbol, is the divine masculine and the divine feminine combined together, which is what we were talking about before. So that energy is then also, through this creation, stimulating those energies within you. You have to do your own work with it too, right? It just means that it stimulates those energies so you can also be reminded of that frequency, of the divine feminine, of the divine masculine, and those balanced energies. Okay. The 4 discs of the Zhed. Actually, I want to go back real quick. Another good point about the Waj and the Zhed. Okay, this is what we call the backbone of a cirrus. By creating this, it's like creating a backbone of your energy body. Okay, the other thing that we've done with the chakras is we put all the frequencies of the chakras in by angle. I'll get into that in a little bit, but that creates a backbone of your energy body as well. And we can do a muscle test as well to kind of show you the difference between how your physical body then gets literally balanced out of that. Because it starts with your energy body. Our healing process, it's not about the physical. Anything that we have disease or illness in the body, in the physical body, stems from a blockage or something that needs to be repaired in the energy body. So you create a backbone in your energy body. Your physical body likes to follow along with that. Okay, so the 4 discs of the Zhed. Resonate with the 4 pillars of heaven. So now we're getting into higher states of consciousness. Those are the 4 pillars. We're getting into the higher realms of consciousness, along with the resonant orbits of the potential of Earth, Venus, and Mercury. Those are the key planets that, yes, the pyramids in Egypt resonated with, but also planets influence our bodies. The moon influences our bodies. All of the planets do. For those of you that know about Egypt or astrology, right, you know how that works. For those of you that don't, there's a lot of planets. Those planets, their orbit, their shape, again, resonates at their own frequency, then rotating around us, creating frequency. And we think that that's not going to have an effect on our physical bodies, as small as we are in the grand scheme of things, right? It totally does. So we want to create those frequencies to be balanced with all that. What we've also created, I want to briefly show, is a codex, what we call a 5D, 5th dimensional cosmic codex. And on the 4 pillars, we've actually put indentations that are a number sequence. And in creating with geometry and frequency and light and sound and math and water, you can create using a number sequence. Okay, so 5, for instance, 5 of the same image, let's say. So there's 5 dots. Is angelic, spiritual protection. You just write a number 5, it's not the same as actually creating 5 dots. Okay, then 11, for instance, is transmutation of water. Our body, 75–80% water. We want to be able to transmute those things because energy can actually be held in water. So we can put frequencies in us, and then our body holds it because of water. It's the same principle of vibropathics, homeopathics, right? It's held within that. Okay. Additional elements. The geometric integrity, which is what we strive for, right? Integrity is a big foundational precept of what we're creating, what we're about. If you don't have integrity, nothing's going to go right. Okay? And it's also, again, know what you're creating. Have integrity with what you're creating. Take responsibility for what you create. So, frequencies are converted to dimensional lengths. That's how we create. A length will resonate at that frequency. So you're taking, for instance, I'll jump down to the 432 hertz. There's lots of research on 432 hertz. I like to call it the natural rhythm and flow of the universe. Okay, Jeannie Boutroff is a great source to go look up, and we actually have, I think, a list of where we've gotten all of our research from as well. But a lot of his life's work is around 432 hertz and why it's so prominent, why our music industry is recording at 440 hertz, which is to offset our natural energy body. So all the music that we're listening to, as amazing as it is, it's completely messing with our energy body. I need to jump my head in it. Yeah.
Let me interject just one quick thing on the 432 hertz scale, and I was talking about this. A lot of you know everyone here is familiar with the sarcophagus within inside the Great Pyramid. And you know that one of the corners is missing, right? It's been burned away. An acoustic engineer went into the Great Pyramid and rang the sarcophagus and found it to be at 440 hertz and said, eureka, 440 hertz. It's a great frequency. It's what we should be using to support our current, A tuning. The problem is that's an incomplete sarcophagus. The corner's missing. And if you, now this is just purely subjective on my part, but if you add that corner back, you're adding density to it, which would bring the frequency level down, or the pitch level down, and I kind of think it would run in about 432 hertz, which is in resonance with hydrogen. So there's some cool linkage there too, but we're using something that's broken as a reference, which may not necessarily be telling us all the truth. Again, it relates to balance.
Awesome, good point. So then briefly, real quickly, what we've done from that is from 432, which is an A432, which is technically your crown chakra, where that's where we're studying it from. So again, do your own research, come up with, your own truths for this. But what we've taken is then the 432 calculations of your crown chakra and then the correlating chakras from 432 hertz and implemented those angles and those dimensional lengths to resonate with your chakras. So each one of the angles that is in this that's correlating to your chakras starts first with 432. That's when I was talking about creating the energy backbone. Those frequencies of each one of your chakras, then it's like they get blasted into your body. Your body resonates with that. Your energy body resonates with that. Okay? So then you start opening up different channels that were maybe blocked before. Everything in our society is set up to shut us down. Okay? Our crown chakras. Most people, operate within the first 3 chakras. That's why everything is about sex and food. Pretty much. Okay? Very few of us actually get to the higher frequencies, and when we do, it's really hard to get there. It takes work, and then it's even harder to sustain being up there, right? So what this actually does then is it shines a beacon of light onto each one of your chakras. What happens with that is everybody's familiar with your ego. Your ego is always going to be a part of you. Befriend it. It's there to stay. But the point is that you are supposed to be in control of it rather than it being in control of you, right? That's nothing new. You guys all know that one. What you maybe don't know is your ego hides in your blocked chakras. So society is set up to shut you down, and then your ego can hide in all of those little crevices of all your blocked chakras that you've shut down because it's really difficult. And now all of a sudden you have your ego running you, and you don't even know that that's the case. And where's your clarity at? So what happens by opening all of your chakras with this and supporting your energy body is not only is it shining a light onto your ego so it can't hide, but what comes out of that now, and this comes into your responsibility as light workers, as divine conscious beings searching for higher states of awareness, is you then get to process, right? And this is sometimes the scary part, but this is the work that we have to do. Everybody, to each your own. Find your own inner divine balance, right? What happens with that is when you get to shine the light on your ego, and you get to actually hear it and see it for what it is, of all those patterns and programs and everything that you've created throughout your entire life, guess what? Now you get to hear it, now you get to work through it. That can be really scary, absolutely. That can be really uncomfortable. You get energy surges going through your body, you have no idea why, but you've been shut down the entire time, so you've never had energy surges going through your body before. Okay, but again, it can be really uncomfortable, but that's where we're supposed to be versus where we're at. So it's about getting to this level and the tools that we need to get to that level and supporting one another in getting to that level. So I also highly recommend doing coaching sessions with that stuff, where if you can't hear it, once you open up those things, lots of different conversations are going to come up. And mind you, that can be this lifetime and past lifetimes. Let's not get it confused, right? So have people that you can talk those things through, right? But this is the work that we're supposed to be doing. The supposed to's, right? But if we want to get to where we want to be, that's what we got to do. And that's integrity, and that's responsibility, and accountability. Did we put it on here? I don't know if we did. There's a principle that we live by, which Dad actually came up with. I'm gonna move to this one. Yes. Oh, there's that too.
It's right there.
Gaia. Okay, similar to Gaia, right? Planet Earth, which is what we live on, but it stands for gratitude. Okay, authenticity, integrity, accountability. We've included in there abundance, but with those 4 principles, that's what higher consciousness is about. That's what higher learning is about. That's where, being happy comes in. But you have to actually take on those words and what they mean and implement them into what, your everyday life. Otherwise, what are we all doing here? To be honest. Okay, so what if then, together out of that, we shape the realm of conscious wellness, a completely new area, which is not new, it's very, very old, but it's new to this understanding again. So out of that, what would be possible? Creating centered balance. Centered balance within you, centered balance in harmony with all of us, in relationship to each other. And that's the end of the slide. So that's what we're about, and that's what we're creating. And I actually want to turn it over to David right now, Dad, who's going to explain other elements, specifically around electromagnetic frequency. This is a growing epidemic as to pollution. So again, all these things that we can't see. We can't see our energy body, but we know it's pretty prominent. We can't see EMF, electromagnetic frequency. It is pollution, it's in absolutely everything. But he's going to explain a little bit about how it's affecting us, and then how we can then consciously create, using frequency, light, sound, and geometry, to correct the detrimental waveforms of that frequency. So thank you very much for your time. And this is it.
Are these your people? Yes. Husband and daughter. That's what I thought.
What a family.
Wow. Dynamic. Amazing. I'm the backdrop.
You're walking to tell us commercial.
Right? You do a job.
Can you hear me now? Excellent, thank you, Sarah. Everything that we've been talking, everything that Sarah's talking about is a segue into what we then went on to develop. And then the more we started researching these concepts, the more we started realizing that this concept of electromagnetic frequency is an extremely hazardous, dangerous, lethal element within our every living, being right now. Let's see. If you look at the frequencies that we operate under, and again, all of this stuff is online. We didn't make any of this stuff up. There's extensive research that's been done on this for many, many years, although it's been very highly suppressed. Does everybody know what electromagnetic frequency is, or electromagnetic radiation? Okay. It involves the microwave spectrum, the radio frequency spectrum. Literally, it's everything that we live with every day. If you look at where we are, we're down here in the lower end, frequencies, or the shorter frequencies, long wave frequencies. When we start getting up into our higher levels of cell phones and TVs and mobile equipment and AC power, you can start seeing it goes up in the intensity, not the intensity level, but the smaller frequency, but it is more penetrating. It literally can penetrate into every aspect of our lives. Every biological cycle of human life is plotted through frequencies and waveforms. Now, there are two different waveforms that we've been analyzing. There are two different waveforms within any one given electromagnetic wave. There's the horizontal blue wave, which is the magnetic field variation, and it tends to be non-detrimental or beneficial. It's the time when you're having a positive interaction with someone, or you're out in nature, you're in front of a waterfall, you're getting the negative ions, you're feeling good. It's a good energy transfer. It's what we get for plants and animals. What we're talking about is the detrimental, which we call the vertical or dielectric aspect, or the electric aspect of the wave. When you do a lot of you know what a tri-field meter is. You can test the electromagnetic frequency in an area. All it does is test the entire field. They haven't developed a system or a piece of equipment has not been developed yet to illustrate the difference between the two. Now we can measure it through dowsing. We have a lot of different, we have a lot of training that we've gone through to analyze and differentiate these two waves, so that we can then design things to counter that. And that's what we built into the SaRa Key. With, as Sarah mentioned, we talk about the codex that's within it. It's not exactly on this one, but first we correct the pyramid to correct and balance any detrimental frequencies coming that are generated from the pyramid, and also domes. Domes and pyramids exactly work up the same. You have to correct domes too. It's very important. One of the original researchers in this back in the 1930s, I think, it was Chancellor Ea, yes, he died in the 50s, I think, something like that. He actually tried himself out. Yeah. And it was because he was using domes that were uncorrected, amplified, 5 or 6 of them at a time, very large, and probably fell asleep and never woke up again. So
That's how powerful frequency is.
That's how powerful frequency is. Yeah, stand in a microwave and you'll see how powerful a frequency is, right? It gets to you really quick. So as we were going through our research on this, we tapped into what we call the 5D codex. And it involves, as Sarah was saying, sequences of numbers or sequences of elements, and we've baked that into the SaRa Key. If you want to analyze any one of these, you can see that we have these dimple features, on the 4 jet elements, and then we also put other ones on the bottom too. Each one is there for a specific purpose. Many people now are using these for not this, but these for meditation devices. So as you're creating your temple space or your sacred space, you want that sacred, spiritual, angelic protection to be in your environment. So we bake that into it too. We want to make sure that if you're going to go out into the realm, as Sarah's saying, that you're treading the path through the 4th dimension to get to the 5th dimension, you definitely want to have some, protection with you. So why not, as in Rosicrucian, they talk about the angel Gabriel and the angel Michael. Why not take those guys along with you? They carry a lot of weight in the spiritual realm. So, as we started looking at these 2 waves, we found that these 2 waves are in everything. When we, in our research, we found that we could transmute that dielectric wave, then all of this ambient energy that's around us could be transmuted. Basically, along the same principles as a noise cancellation headphone works. I think we're all familiar with how that works. It just creates an equal and opposite wave, and it neutralizes the sound wave. Am I still not on?
It's just when you turn your head, then you're away from
I know. Sorry, hang on.
You're good.
Let me see if we can get closer. Then when my head turns. Is that better? Okay. All of us, I think a lot of us are familiar with Hartman Grid. We're also familiar with the Curry lines, and then you also have the Banker lines. This is an illustration that was done in Sweden, I think, where they just painted the lines to illustrate just exactly where they are. We're finding these are the waveforms that carry this detrimental energy. So as we go through,
along with other things.
along with everything, it's like it's a communication grid. I believe it's the ancients actually used it as a communication grid. I think we will be able to as well.
Can I interject one thing?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
don't know. Is this still on?
No, click it on. Speak louder.
That's muted. Can you hear me now? No.
We can hear you if you speak up, Robert.
Probably. Yeah, she projects better than I do.
Okay.
You can.
Yes, yes, it is one of it's the grids that they use as transmitting electromagnetic frequency. But I believe, and I'll just say it as my own personal belief structure, they're using it to transmit a lot of other frequencies that are harmful to us as well. Okay, it's not just EMF, but military uses a lot of different things to transmit those frequencies. How do they get them across the atmosphere? Okay, if these things are in everything and through everything, well, then they can project around different towns as well. It's not just through military missions and stuff like that. So one of the things that we're working on is we're talking about transmitting the detrimental waveforms of that. So you can actually put something on a grid that would broadcast out positive frequencies, for lack of a better term, that would actually counteract those.
As Sarah said, the main problem that we're having here, or that we're facing, is these vertical waves, we call them vertical waves, have immediately penetrating properties to them. They'll go through anything. Many people are setting up Faraday cages and trying to shield themselves with different, very expensive curtains and things like that, which all do work. They're very effective. The problem is, if a little comes in, it can't go out. So what happens when it's in? And what are you dealing with your environment inside there? It kind of looks like a lotto cage where they start speeding up and they're actually bombarding you. So what are we doing in our homes right now with, maybe I'm jumping ahead here. They're just, I'll talk a little bit about what they do. They're very destructive to your DNA, the imbalance to your entire biological system, because they, as Sarah was mentioning about frequencies, they're in resonance with our body's frequencies. The 60 hertz that we have in our EMF realm today for just our electric currents alone is in resonance with our body. And that's why, it can actually literally kill you if you have enough of it. The frightening aspect of this is we are now bringing all of this into our immediate space with not just cell phones. All we hear about is cell phones next to your ear. But when you look at the ambient density that's increasing now, this is awareness is rising. There's that the awareness is rising. It's probably farther along, I think. There's a society right now. This comes, the report comes from the Bioelectromagnetic Society. They have compiled large amounts of information along these lines. And in so doing, they've been giving us reports back on what the ambient density is increasing. But to give us a very quick illustration, and that's what these relate to, we can see where we start having the damage to our bodies through this exposure. I'm trying to go through this very quickly because I don't want to run out of time. Okay. Now, here's a map around my house. Okay, this is a map taken right off of the it's the ambient density map of the Detroit suburb from antennaresearch.com, and you can key this in and you can key in your address. We're right here, and this shows at least 20 cell phone towers around our house alone, and I still don't get reception on my phone. But I'm getting fried. It's really good. I get one bar. Thanks, guys. Right? And then this is how many repeater antennas we have. Now, that's a 1 mile radius. Okay?
There are that many towers?
There are that many towers. And this is in Farmington Hills. Okay? So any,
Only gonna get bigger.
and I think we've got, right here where we are somewhere. Okay, this is where we are. So look at how many antennas we have where we are here right now. That's still a lot of antennas, and I have no reception.
Yeah.
It's got to be my etheric body messing with every piece of electrical, thing in my vicinity.
We do that.
We have that tendency. So what are we doing to combat this danger? As I mentioned, people are creating Faraday arrangements with these Faraday type curtains and things like that. That's a blocking, what you try to do, which is also diverting. We looked at it and said, well, I can't contain a waterfall, but if I just let it pass by me, then maybe it won't hurt me. And that's you can get into martial arts. It's about deflecting. It's not about letting it pass through you. Or if I'm going to let it pass through me,
Or not resisting. It's
not resisting. It's a wave. So if I'm in the ocean and I'm getting slapped by the waves, that's a lot of work. But if I lift my feet, I just kind of roll with it. So I want to roll with the wave that's not hurting me. And that led us to start, well, this is blocking, I'm going to do that, diverting, the transmutational aspects. What we did was we developed what we call Zervana, and it's based on this 5D codex.
It's on there in the PowerPoint, but I'm just gonna hold it up.
It'll be coming up. This is what we've developed. It's called Zervana. Okay? Now, Zervana has, we have a definition in here too. Well, let's just go through it again. The science of shape and elements change your environment, which is what we've been researching.
This goes through how
Go ahead.
We're trying to move quickly.
Good catch.
This is just going through briefly other people in history who actually do this as a ritual every day, right? Using sacred geometric structures to create balance in their own environment. Now, granted, in these certain areas, maybe they don't have as much, EMF, cell phone towers, and all that stuff, but the principle still applies that they've been doing it for quite a while. Okay, so that's on the wall. These are things that they'll draw actually outside their front doorstep, right? These are all geometric shapes. So it may not look like much, but it's actually doing a very positive, awesome purpose. Okay, another one is like that. Somebody drew it in the sand. You guys all know what the flower of life is. It looks really pretty, but it's a geometric structure. It's all of the universe. Okay, here's another image of sand painting. So these are all, see the arc right there? That's a dome. So it's an amplification tool. So each one of those angles, each length, shape, and ratio in between each one, when you actually go into calculating it and understanding how they calculated it, actually, it's emanating its own positive frequency, or as a tool to counteract whatever frequencies are going on, right? So I'm just going to go through these briefly. That's Stonehenge. Does that look like a geometric structure of producing something, emitting something? With this theory in mind, we begin to look at science and shape and sound to create solutions. So that's what we're about doing, is creating solutions. So, everybody who's going to get a lot more sensitive to EMF, it's not about, okay, well, I'm super sensitive, let's just cut down all the cell phone towers because that's going to solve my problem being uncomfortable. Okay? I enjoy my cell phone. I run a business, Sovereign Alliance, I run it online. That's my business. So to be honest, I want to be able to still have those benefits that we have, but not have the detrimental aspects to it. And that's what, that's about balance too. So do you want to take that?
And that segues right into where we are. What I want to do is I want to change up a little bit because I think we're running out of time. And I want to demonstrate, because a lot of everything that we're talking about here is science. You can find it anywhere online. You can come by our table and we'll talk to your office. We're really good at that. The elements that I want to do, though, is to illustrate how this, put into the form of a hologram, which is what we've now done, can actually transmute your space. Again, it goes back to allowing this ambient detrimental, or I should say ambient electromagnetic frequencies to come into your space, but create a window that as it's passing through, it is transmuted. So we transmute that dielectric vertical waveform and just let the horizontal waveform come through. We're actually now doing some things where we're taking our cell phones after they've been transmuted and putting the SaRa Key on top of it and using it to do what we call the 5D broadband network. Now we're broadcasting positive energy out into the universe rather than
on the field that already exists.
on the field that already exists. We haven't created it, we haven't destroyed it, we've just kind of used it for the benefit of mankind. We piggybacked on it, exactly. So, to do a quick illustration, and I'm going to choose volunteers. Actually, I'm going to choose recruits because I'm going to recruit people because I don't ask for volunteers. Sorry. So if I choose you, it's because I like you. No, it's you're in the right space. Okay, I'm going to continue talking. What I did for the benefit of us all is transmuted this plasma screen. Plasma screens are one of the worst emitters of detrimental EMF that we could ever possibly bring into our environment. And how many of us have plasma screen TVs at home or plasma screen computer screens? A lot of us say, I don't have a TV. Great, I don't have a TV, but I got a plasma screen. And if you look at the detrimental elements coming off of that, and I tested this myself, it was 2 feet away, and that's right in my face. Now, if you look at the symptoms of EMF, the first symptoms are eye strain, irritability, chronic fatigue, and then it just gets worse from there, to the point where you get diseases associated with eye bleeding, and I don't want to get cryptic, dizziness, and that wonderful thing with that big C word, the cancer word, right? The cells try to protect themselves. I'm not going to get into all that science, but it's definitely real. Study it. Study the books called The Points of Geopathic Stress, or some good books to read. Old books that are out of print now, but you can find them. Read them because it tells you what's going on in your environment. The Germans were doing this back in the 30s, and they found out that people were getting sick.
In 25 minutes, we're going to start the other classes, so you better go get something to eat.
Can I do a quick demonstration?
I don't give a
Okay,
this
it'll take all of 5 minutes. unless anybody wants to leave, because I can stop right now, which would be
No,
cool.
that's fine.
Please.
I just want to tell you, the schedule, it's late, but we got to keep halfway on schedule.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, now I'm going to illustrate something very, very quickly, and then I'll let y'all go, because hunger is much better fixed than listening to me. I can't fix hunger. Okay, now what I've done, for those of you who are sensitive, you may start feeling the fields hitting you right now. I have doused this, and it goes all the way back about 30 feet away from this screen. Okay, and this is your typical plasma screen. For anybody who's really sensitive and you really want to get hit, which I wouldn't recommend, go into Best Buy. Go into Best Buy and stand in front of a 6-foot screen. I was 30 feet away from this, so what is going on with my head? It's just killing me. And I turned, and there was the screen, bombarding me. So, I'm going to ask you if you would stand up, and then the gentleman back there in the hat, if you stand up for me. Yes, please. And we're all familiar with kinesiology, so I'm going to do a very quick muscle test. So if you hold your arm out, and I'm going to test to find out how you are in this energy field, and you have absolute full strength. Sarah, could you trip back there? Or anybody, could you? Just don't have us do it. Okay, and then push down. Okay. Now you see he's testing weight. Okay. Now how far away is he from the screen? Okay. And how far away are we from this screen when we like to watch our viewing experience? Right here.
18 to 20
Yes, right there on our couch. Okay. Now, where did you do with that other sticker?
Got it.
Oh, well, I need the other sticker. Thanks. Okay. This is where it gets really good because all we do is I've got 4 on here, which you saw me do before. And now as I test you, I can literally stand on your arm. Okay? And it transmutes the entire field. For those of you who are EMF sensitive and intuitive, you know that the field has dropped and diminished completely. So that's what we did. We took this and went to the next level to put something together that would be very inexpensive in our sense, and put it together so you can use it in a myriad of different places. We have larger size. We made them larger. We did a 2-inch version, which if I put them on the 8 corners of this tent, we would literally create a transmutational cube, which could be your house, your bedroom, The best place would be in your bedroom because that really is your first sacred space. That's where you're in dream time. You're in parasympathetic mode, and that's where EMF is the most detrimental to you. So if you're sleeping with your cell phone, not a good idea, okay? Put it on, you can't even put it on plane mode because it'll still emit, right? The best thing to do is if you use it as your alarm, which a lot of us do, get those blocking socks and put it inside one of those blocking socks, and it won't ring, even no one can contact you, which might be better. You can't get texted at 2 o'clock in the morning. But it will allow your alarm to ring, and at least you can have it in your environment and it won't hurt you. What I've done with my cell phone is we have 4 of the smaller versions like you see here. I put them on the inside of the backing, and then I pull the battery out and I put a 5th one between the back of the phone and the battery, and that transmutes the detrimental elements. Me, I'm really, because I'm researching this, I took it one step farther and put 4 more on here so I can close it, and then I use my speakerphone. And then it doesn't, and then it's away from me. But there is no detrimental elements coming from this. You can still, test the EMF wave with the tri-field meter. You can still test it here, but it transmutes that. For those of you who have a smart meter on your house, we all are getting those now, right? Okay. There are 3 antennas on a cell phone, 3 antennas in your smart meter, and one of them has the same amount of output as a cell phone tower. So my speculation is they don't know what they're really doing. They're just doing it because they think it's a good idea. I will speculate in about a year, when we get a larger cross-section of smart meters on houses, you're going to see the electrical company teaming up with the cell phone company going, guess what, we now have repeaters on our houses and you can all communicate. Okay? They're not necessarily doing it to kill us, although it is killing us, but it's a very powerful.
At the same time, you're going to see an increase in, health downfall, whether that be stress-related illnesses, Epstein, BE, Epstein-Barr, what's that? ADHD,
And autism.
And autism. There's a lot of different things that are actually coming out of this. We don't like to use the C word. We're not doctors, but it activates within your body. It activates the stress-related virus, which is BE, which is Epstein-Barr. It's mono, all of those things, but it's also, if you guys have been listening to the news, there's been an increasing amount of shingles going on. That's what shingles is. Shingles gets now activated by the EMF within the body. It's a stress-related virus, right? But the stress in your body is coming from the EMF. So now what impacts is that going to have within 5 or 10 years on our physical body? Do the math.
And I'll conclude with this. There actually, from what Sarah just said, there is actually a study that we've got to get a hold of, so we can't really tell you where it is, but we did one video. I think it was Dr. Kleinhardt. He's very much an advocate about EMF. You've heard of him. I think it was a 45-minute video he did where he cited a woman in Harvard University, I believe is medical school, did a study on autism versus EMF, and they showed the graph of the exponential increase in EMF being a direct overlay with the exponential increase in cases of autism. This is actually really killing us. Sorry to beat a dead horse, and I don't want to be cryptic on it, but it's what we're doing. We're trying to create something that we can get out to a massive amount of people, because we're not going to cut down cell phone towers. That isn't going to happen. And I still like my communication. I do the same thing too. I run my business via computer and the internet. And now SaRa is too. So if we can get more of this out there to more and more people, we have a solution for now. There may be a solution in the future. We're going to continue to do more and more research on this.
Upgrading it as we go. We're always researching. We're always upgrading everything. And we encourage you guys to do the same thing. We're just giving you information, but there's tons of information on your EMF projecting computer, by the way.
Fix it first.
But Google it. There's tons of information on this stuff, and it's important to educate ourselves because knowledge is power, right? So when we actually have the knowledge on something, then we can know how to search for something else to do about it. We're not the only ones doing this, right? So there's lots of different people, but we're just, one in at least a small group. So do your own research and educate yourselves, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We don't want to leave everybody with this, forlorn feeling. It just, we are finding solutions, and that's just where we're at. So I want to thank you guys all.
Okay, I just want to make an announcement. At 1:30, which is 15 minutes from now, you better go get some food. Steve Hardy's gonna be in here to talk. Adam Graham is gonna talk about food for medicine in that room. On the patio, the guy's gonna talk about feeding your body with gold and changing your electromagnetic field. And John and Robbie are gonna be in the living room talking about the ethics of sacred space. That's 15 minutes from now. I'm sorry it was cold and rainy, so we backed everything up. You get some food, take